Welcome to Living from the Heart. I am your host, Tina Thrussell, light dancer, co-founder of Best You Can Be, and messenger of the Shin Dao, the way of the heart. This live show celebrates living with purpose and passion. We explore the ways that living from your heart can amplify the joy and the sense of fulfillment in your life. Living from your heart means feeling alive and full of life. Living from your heart means you love who you are and what you're doing with your life. Today, I'm flying solo on the show, being that it's the first episode of Living from the Heart. I thought we'd begin by talking about the Shin Dao. The word Shin in Japanese kanji means heart, and the Dao is the way. So the way of the heart. A lot of people ask me, well, what is the way of the heart? What does that mean? And it's a big question. I've been exploring it for several years, ever since the term came through to my husband one day while he was driving down the road. He loves to tell the story of how he was driving along and thinking about the work that we do within Best You Can Be, and what is the common denominator? What is a phrase that captures what we do, what's behind everything we do. And the term Shin Dao came to him. And when he did some research, he went onto some forums, he talked to various kanji masters, and they came up with a symbol that we have on this beautiful pendant that says Heart Way. And ever since that day, many years ago, I have been exploring exactly what does that mean. And at this stage of my life, I've come to believe that the Shin Dao, the way of the heart, is the way of living with love and kindness and compassion for yourself first. For if you don't have that love and compassion for yourself, you really truly can't have it for anyone else. And when you do have that love and kindness and compassion for yourself, it's easy to have that flow out into the world. It's easy to be the best that you can be. Yes, that's our company name, Best You Can Be. When you are in that space of loving who you are, then life becomes more joyful and you radiate that joy into the world. That happens to be my personal life mission, to spread joy, to be, to give and receive and be love, and to spread joy in the world. And living the Shin Dao, the way of the heart, living from your heart, is certainly a way to spread that joy. And maybe spreading joy isn't your mission and it's not what calls you. But whatever does call you, whatever you love to do, whatever makes time disappear, whatever activity or way of being puts you in that space of life is fantastic, I feel alive, then you're living from your heart. When you are in that space, you are listening to your heart's desire and you are doing what makes you feel alive and wonderful. And that's what matters. Living the Shin Dao is, as I say, living with kindness and love and compassion for yourself first, and then allowing that to flow out to others. And when you do that, there's a sense of peace inside. You live from this peaceful place in your heart where you know that everything is all right, that everything that happens for you, not to you. And the things that happen for you are for your learning, for your growth, for your enjoyment, for your pleasure, for whatever it is that comes from that. Living with purpose and passion is an awful lot about living with a perspective that allows you to experience that joy. Neil talks a lot about purpose and passion. It means the world to him. It's everything in his life. And who's Neil? For those of you who don't know, Neil is my husband of 34 years at this stage of our life. He is my business partner in Best You Can Be. He is the initial channel for the Shin Dao. He is an amazing man. He's a wonderful coach. He's a lot of fun. He's likable, lovable. He's one of those good guys that sadly some people, especially some women, think, oh, men like that don't exist. There's no such thing as a good man. Well, there is, and I happen to have that good man in my life. We help each other grow. Our life has been full of challenge and ups and downs, and always, always there is love. Always. We love the essence of who each other is. We understand that we are beings of light and love, no matter what our behaviors are. And that too is part of the Shin Dao, of understanding that the core essence of who you are, of who I am, of who everyone, who every living being is for that matter, every living being is created from that one source, which I call Soa, source of all. Some people refer to that as the universe, great spirit, God, you name it. There are all sorts of names, but that which is known by many names still remains as the one true source of all life. And I believe that that is a source of good, of light, of love, and that that is the core essence of who each and every one of us is. And when we remember that as we're interacting with one another, that despite the behavior that shows up that we may not like, that underneath that behavior, there is this divine being of love and light. And that is what has kept us happily married for 34 years and in partnership here in the Shin Dao. So, yes, it's all important for Neil to talk about purpose and passion. And for me, it's just as important to talk about perspective. The 3 Ps. Actually, we have 4 Ps: purpose, passion, play, and perspective. Yeah, there are always many ways to look at the same scenario. Have you ever been in a family situation? A situation happens, and if you were to talk to the 5 different members of the family who were all there that day, they all have a different story to tell about what happened and what it was about. We all see the world through our own personal filter. It's like we're wearing these colored glasses, and each of us has a different color of glass that we wear. And so what we see is a little bit different. So living with an awareness of perspective means being able to look at things differently than you have been looking at. Choose to look at things in a way that creates less suffering for you and more joy for you. That's living from the heart. Living from the heart is a connection of head and heart. There is this coherence between head and heart that needs to happen in order to truly be living the way of the heart. Many people have heard of heart math, and that's the science of studying the heart and the energy of the heart. They've done lots of measurements and are discovering that the heart is far more powerful than the brain, that it actually has a greater energy field, that I want to say, I'm not going to say that because I don't know that that's a fact. I was going to say, I think that has something to do with even our memories are stored in our heart more than our head, but I don't know that that's a truth. I do believe that that memories are stored in our auric or energy fields, and those energy fields are tied to the heart. So maybe I'm not so far off with that. Surmising on my part. Perspective. It's really important to living with purpose and passion. If you're choosing a Pollyanna way of life where you choose to look at the positive side of every situation, it's easier to be passionate about life. It's easier to feel the joy and the sense of fulfillment. If you're looking for what's wrong, for the glass to be half empty and everything, it really is challenging to feel good about who you are and what you're doing with your life. So, perspective is an important part of that purpose and passion. And I'm just checking the time here. Okay, looking good. Um, Living from the heart is listening to those desires. It's doing what feels good. I've come to discover over the years that the difference between living from your head and living from your heart is that when you live from your head, you're following your thinking. And thinking is not always in our highest good. thinking thinking is this constant process that's always happening, and sadly we think not only our own thoughts, but we think the thoughts of everyone who's ever affected us in our lives, especially in our youth. As children, there are many adults around us who affect how we come to think, what we believe. And very often, what we are thinking or what we're believing are their stories, which don't necessarily even apply to us. But because we heard those things from such a young age, we adopted them as our own. And so I've come to understand that if I have doubt, if I have fear, if I'm questioning, if I'm wondering, then I'm listening to my head. When I listen to my heart, the heart will never, ever lead you wrong. Somebody said to me the other day, well, listening to my heart has really gotten me into trouble. And I said, that's not possible. That is simply not possible. Living from your heart, although it may bring some challenges along the way, there may be some learning and growth that happens through the process of living from your heart. Ultimately, it brings you to a sense of joy, a sense of rightness that, yes, this feels right in my life. The heart is about feeling. And there is this phrase, being above the line or below the line. When you're above the line, you're feeling great. When you're below the line, you're not feeling great. You're feeling all those negative feelings like frustration, worry, anger, doubt, um, you name it. Anything that we would call a negative feeling is below the line, and anything that's a positive feeling is above the line. And so when you live above the line, there is more joy, and it's easier to do what feels right and what feels good. And that brings a sense of fulfillment. Okay, so it's not that simple. It's about understanding what your true values are, what feels right in your heart, living in alignment with those values, saying no to the things that aren't in alignment with those values and saying yes to the things that are. It's about discovering what you love to do, and that may go back to visiting your childhood. What did you love to do as a child? What made your heart sing? What made time disappear? What did your parents have to tear you away from because you were having so much fun? That might be a clue to what you love to do and need to bring into your life. It may not be as your job at this point in time, but ensure that you're bringing that doing what you love into your life. And then here's the key: when you're in service with that, whatever it is that you love to do, when you are serving others in some way with that gift of what you love to do, then there's the magic for the sense of fulfillment. Knowing what your values are, living in integrity in alignment with those values, doing what you love, and serving others through that doing what you love. These are a simple formula for a sense of fulfillment and definitely define living from the heart. What more can I say as a simple introduction to living from the heart? I think that about does it. I will be inviting guests to join me on this show. And what we will be doing is celebrating their lives of purpose and passion. For the people that I bring on this show are passionate people who are living purposeful lives and living in alignment with their heart. And as they tell their stories, I'm certain that you will find a sense of inspiration and perhaps some ideas for what you might do a little bit differently to enhance the sense of joy and fulfillment in your life, to feel more on purpose, to feel more passionate, to feel more alive and full of life. That is our goal. Through our sharing of our stories, our experiences, our learnings, our knowledge, our insights, that we will inspire you in some way, that we will motivate you to take some different action, because often it does involve making a choice to make some change, and it could be the smallest little change to bring more joy into your life, to bring a greater sense of passionate living. Who doesn't want that? We had conversations in our backyard last night, and we started talking about our topic of the evening was the role of community in your life. And as conversations often do, they circled around in all sorts of different directions and all different ways, and it became this intertwining, interesting conversation that took us down all sorts of paths. And I was tying that back to what I was saying before. My brain just went, whoop. This sometimes happens. We all know how that can go. I was tying that back to living from our heart and knowing that, I don't know, okay, it's gone. Knowing that what we all have to share with one another can make a difference. That by telling our stories, it can make a difference for someone else. And you never know the difference that it will make. So I invite you to tune in every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And if you're not able to join us live, then by all means, come back to the page Shin Dao, The Way of the Heart, here on Facebook, and check out the recordings. You'll be able to go back and listen, pick and choose. Every show will be only 15 to 30 minutes, so it's not a great investment, a long investment of your time, but it is a great investment of your time. Maybe not a long investment, but a great investment of your time to be with us. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for consciously becoming aware of that phrase, living from your heart, and what it might mean. Become aware of the Shin Dao, the way of the heart, and be conscious of how you might live more the way of the heart. We'll talk about how to live with greater love, kindness, and compassion for yourself in upcoming shows as well. So I am Tina Thrussell, light dancer, your host for Living from the Heart, co-founder of Best You Can Be, and messenger of the Shin Dao. Signing off for now, saying thank you, I love you. We'll talk again soon. Namaste. The divine in me sees and acknowledges the divine in you.